The latest on Hurricane Laura now, which is battering the southern United States, where forecasters have warned of unsurvivable storm surges. Laura has been downgraded from a Category 4 to a Category 2 storm, but that still means top wind speeds of almost 180 kilometres per hour. Tens of thousands of people are without power, and the governor of Louisiana is worried that some coastal residents who were issued with evacuation orders have actually ignored them. Well, Jay Gray is in Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is taking the full force of the storm. Here's his report.
Thankfully, we are getting a bit of a break. The wind has died down. The rain has stopped for now. We'll continue to see a bit of that spitting rain and some wind gusts for the next hour or so as this storm finally clears all the way out of this area. But Lake Charles took a direct hit last night. First, the storm makes landfall about 30, 35 miles to the south in Cameron, and then moves in and across this city. And as it did, it wreaked havoc here. We know that flooding is an issue and will continue to be. The water is still building. Hundreds of thousands are without power, not only in this area, but that power is going to be lost as this storm continues to push to the north and then eventually off to the east. It's still going to be a powerful storm at that time as well. Look, we know there's significant damages to buildings here. We don't have a good handle on all of that because the wind's still too strong for teams to really get out at this point. Power lines are down. Flooding in pockets of this city are just too intense. But again, as things really ease up in the next hour or so, we'll get a much better idea of the extent of the damage here.
So that's the story from Louisiana. We'll go wider now with Andy Gallagher following things from Miami. I know the storm came ashore pretty much actually on the border, wasn't it? Louisiana and Texas. Where else has it gone and what other reports are coming in?
Well, the big headline yesterday was that the storm surge would be, in the words of the National Hurricane Center, unsurvivable. That didn't come to pass. We didn't get those 6-meter storm surges that were predicted. So there is somewhat of good news coming out of that area, but it seems the storm tracked slightly to the east, so it impacted Louisiana more than it did Texas, and we've already got Governor John Bel Edwards of Louisiana reporting the first death. A 14-year-old girl died in her home when a tree fell on it. But as Jay said, the true extent of the damage here will not be known until search and rescue crews can get out into those lower-lying communities south of his location, because that's the real concern at the moment. Certainly, when this storm hit those two coastlines, the winds were in excess of 200 kilometers per hour. We expect catastrophic damage. More than 500,000 people now in both of those states without power. You were talking about people that didn't evacuate. People often misunderstand that mandatory evacuations can be ignored. But a lot of people were simply afraid of the pandemic as well. They didn't want to go to evacuation shelters. So that is a real concern, I think, for the emergency services and officials as they head southwards down into those very fragile, delicate, low-lying communities to see what they will find. At the moment, it's too dangerous for those crews to get out on the ground because the winds are still so strong. But certainly the tidal surge coming in wasn't nearly as high as forecasters had predicted.
So we're at the end of August now. Andy, how long, just more widely for viewers who don't know, does this storm season go on? Because, I mean, there was another storm, wasn't there, Marco, which was supposed to hit at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's 6 months of the year. The hurricane season, the Atlantic hurricane season, lasts for 6 months of the year. But in my experience covering hurricanes for the last 20 years, it's normally September that's the busy year. Remember in 2017 when we had about 3 major hurricanes come into the United States. So they do seem to be happening a little earlier. Climate change is also playing a role, according to scientists. They are now lingering for longer. They are wetter and potentially stronger. But I think the thing that may have saved these two states from absolutely catastrophic unsurvivable damage is that this storm sped up so quickly as it approached the coastline. If you look at Katrina back in 2005, that had become a Category 5 for a good deal of time before it hit the coastline. Therefore, it had more power to push that surge inland. So that may be a small mercy for the state of Louisiana in particular. But as daylight comes, as these search crews go out into these low-lying communities, we will get a better picture of just how bad Hurricane Laura has been for those two states.
OK, thank you for that update. Andy Gallagher in Miami.